Greetings and salutations, my minions. Kunic here, back with something a little different today. You see, ever since Blaine Simple put out his D&D YouTuber tier list, I've had the idea to maybe do one of these strictly for the horror story genre of D&D YouTubers. And so, that's what we're doing today. Now, just so everyone is aware, anyone with less than 10,000 subscribers on this list, I personally asked and have approval from to include them in this list. And several of them told me to be brutally honest, so if it sounds like I'm being mean, it's because they requested it. But yeah, I think this is going to be a great opportunity to provide feedback within the community. Anyhow, the tier list is going to be as follows. Starting from the bottom up, we have the F tier, which is the channels I would steer clear from entirely. Don't worry, there's only one channel that meets that criteria. Then we have the C tier. Everything in the C tier is going to have some sort of an issue with the videos or audio quality. That's not to say that they're bad, there's just a very obvious way for them to improve the quality of their videos to get them up to the B tier. Then we have the B tier. The B tier is strictly just the bog standard tier. They're doing everything you would expect them to do if they were a D&D horror story YouTuber. Next up, we have the A tier. The A tier is going to be doing something exceptional above just the bog standard stuff. Maybe they're doing something top-notch with their audio, or they're doing something fantastic with the video portion of their videos. Then finally we have the S tier. The S tier is doing everything from the A tier, but just one notch above that. So with the tiers described, let's get on with the list and see who falls in where. Starting alphabetically, we have All Things DnD. This is one of the OG RPG horror story channels, and chances are if you're watching this video, you've seen one of their videos. Now, All Things D&D is unique in that they have a custom background for every single video that fits whatever story they're reading. Admittedly, it's pretty simple. It's just some vector art that shows some sort of a scene from the story that they're reading, and it's very slightly animated, usually about 1 to 2 seconds worth, and it loops back and forth. But still, it's unique and it looks pretty cool. However, they're going to be making the C tier for this list strictly on the audio portion of their videos. I've spoken to multiple people, and the audio is consistently a big turnoff from listening to their videos. Strictly speaking, it sounds very clinical, like someone ran it through a dozen different audio processors and that was the output. So I think they have a very clear path of where to go next, just improve the audio. Next we have Artificial.DM. He's been in the space on the longer end, and I think he ticks all of the proper boxes to be in the B tier. He's not really changed a lot about his videos for the past year, but it meets all the proper standards. He's entertaining to listen to, he's got good audio, and the visuals line up with what you would expect from an RPG horror story YouTuber. I think my only critique would be to improve the visuals just a little bit more. Like, maybe make the avatar a bit more animated, and change up the background just a little bit. You've been running with the same thing for over a year now, so it would be nice to have a bit of a change of pace. Next, we have Crispy's Tavern. They're a bit of a newer YouTuber. I think they've only been in the space for a few months, but they 100% warrant the B tier. And this is because I've seen tremendous growth in the few months he's been here. He went from having no animation to some animation in a very short amount of time. And he's got a pretty catchy opening jingle. I would probably steal it if you weren't already doing it. However, my one big knock would be the backgrounds. From what I can gather, every single background is from Skyrim, which, while unique, is also potentially opening yourself up to copyright issues. So I would look for something a bit more stock footagey that you would have the rights to. This is what I was doing for a long while on my channel if you want an idea. And as for the audio, your microphone sounds great, but work on the pronunciation just a little bit as your words often slur together. Next up, we have the ambassador to RPG horror story YouTubers, CritCrab. CritCrab has been in the game for pretty much 2 years now or more at this point in time. If you're watching this video, you 100% have seen one of his videos. I pretty much guarantee it. However, while I was really wanting to put him in the S tier, I think he warrants an A tier inclusion. And this is simply on the fact that his videos haven't really changed in over a year. In fact, they've gotten a little bit worse. Seriously, go listen to his most recent video, and then go and look at his video from a year ago, and the audio quality has taken a dramatic dip, so he's going in the wrong direction. I think if he improved that, and maybe tweaked up his visuals a little bit, which also haven't changed in over a year, he'd be easily in the S tier. Still, despite the audio issues, he's entirely worth a listen to. Next up, we have me, Critical Kunic. And while I really wanted to say, hey, I'm an S tier, I actually put this up for a vote on my Discord server. I was kind of hoping they would give me something comically low like an F, because I think it would make for good content in the video, but instead, as of this recording, I'm tied for S and A tier. And as I have to be the tiebreaker, I'm going to give myself a high A tier placing. And the reason why I put myself above CritCrab is for several reasons. 1. My video quality went like this from my first release on May 23rd, 2020, then improved to this style very quickly, and that remained until last month when I fully switched over to the tool I had been programming specifically for RPG horror stories, which is where we're at today. And 2, in the 11 months since this channel has existed, I've gone between 4 different microphones. First, I started with a blue snowball that I purchased back in 2009. Then in August, I moved to the Malno USB condenser microphone. And this microphone sounded pretty good, but also produced a lot of echoes. So I used my first 2 checks from being a partnered YouTuber to convert a closet into a recording booth, and then switching over to the MXL 770 XLR condenser microphone. And this actually remained in place until 2 weeks ago, when I upgraded to the Synco D2 shotgun microphone this month. And my microphone setup now is so good that the next setup from here will be investing literally thousands of dollars, which frankly will get likely so compressed by YouTube that it's not worth it. So for all intents and purposes, my microphone setup as it is right now is probably as good as it's ever going to be, unless I get bored and want to pick up another microphone just to play around with it. So, given the innovation and effort I've striven for to level up what I think an RPG horror story genre channel should and can be, I feel that this justifies an A tier inclusion at the least. You know, not to toot my own horn or anything. And as for my own personal improvements, I think I really need to work on my pronunciation of words. For those that don't know, I'm dyslexic, and that sometimes means when I read a word, I pronounce it incorrectly, even if I know how it should be properly pronounced, if I were to just say it normally. Case in point, in my last video I kept saying Chiba City, even though I knew it was properly pronounced Chiba City, because I'm a weeb, so I knew that that's how it was supposed to be pronounced. But as I was reading it off the paper, I ended up reading it incorrectly multiple times. Alright, next up we have Crowe's Perch, who I think is a solid inclusion into the C tier. He's got a cute little crow avatar that, while it could use some improvements with regards to not looking like clip art, shows a lot of promise. Audio quality is pretty good too, albeit with a questionable mix of music at the start. Bro, just turn down the music a little bit more, you're a little bit hard to hear right now. And from a technical standpoint, I noticed that the text on screen is stretched to fit the width of your video, which is squishing and distorting the text. Look into locking the aspect ratio of the text when you scale it. Next up is Den of the Drake, who I think is our only S tier inclusion from this point on. About a month and a half ago, Den of the Drake was around 1.5 thousand subscribers, and now he's on pace to pass me this week, even though I just hit 6,000 subscribers for context. So to say he's a rising star would be a bit of an understatement. Now, him and I have talked a lot behind the scenes, and it was actually my suggestion to include the fire animation at the start of his videos that you see. So it's very clear to me that he's taking and implementing suggestions to improve his videos at a breakneck speed. My only real suggestion, and he's heard this from me already, is to edit out his breathing. It's something he feels adds to his character though, so I'm not going to knock him for it. And at the rate he's growing, he's clearly on a pace to be the next major star in our genre, so I'm not necessarily one to nitpick him on it. Next we have Melvin is Heere. He's actually unique in that he started as a VTuber, and then recently moved over to a really interesting art piece of that VTuber avatar. And yeah, I think he's a solid inclusion in the B tier. From an aesthetic standpoint, I really dig his new style, though I would love to see it animated going forward, and I think him doing that could move him up to the A tier. Audio quality has also been improving rapidly, so keep doing what you're doing here. The only thing I would outright remove is that starting soon bit at the start of your videos. That makes more sense for a stream, not a video. Now we have Neckbeardia, the first and only F tier ranking in this tier list. I'm not going to go hugely into detail about why I'm giving them an F. If you're interested, Google the fall of Neckbeardia Westmarch. where you'll come across a horror story submitted to r/RPG horror stories all about it. Suffice to say, I think Neckbeardia is the antithesis of what we want representing the community. Hence, why they're our only YouTuber below a C ranking. Next up, we have RPG Tales. I think RPG Tales is doing something interesting, but at the detriment of the video quality. You see, instead of displaying text on screen, he's using YouTube's closed captioning feature to display it instead. And this is brilliant. However, it leaves the video portion quite a bit to be desired, and as a result I'm placing RPG Tales in the C tier. Now, I understand that most people just listen to the videos, but a non-insignificant portion of them also watch along, and for these viewers the experience takes a bit of a dip when you used closed captioning. I think if a bit more effort went into the videos, I can definitely see RPG Tales at least going up to the B tier. Okay, and finally we have Zflocco, whom I've done several collaborations with in the past. Zflocco is an interesting case. He's definitely improved a ton over the past year, and I think his video and audio quality is easily good enough to be B tier. However, what knocks him down to a C tier is how he comes off in his videos. He's not mean or anything like that. He's just bland. I think he should work on putting more emphasis into his personality so that it shines through in the audio. And honestly, I feel like this is the only thing holding his channel back from getting more subscribers, because everything else about his videos are great. Also, having spoken to him privately, I know that he outsources quite a bit of the work for his videos. Now, while this works well for channels with millions of subscribers, I think any channel in this genre needs to be the sole creation of the channel's owner. We simply don't have the subscriber count needed to warrant outsourcing work. And as working on the videos is the only way we as creators can learn how to improve them, I really think he needs to make a shift to him being the sole creator of everything that goes into his videos. Anyhow, that's it for today's tier list. Do you agree with my suggestions? Do you maybe disagree with some of my suggestions? Be sure to leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I tried not to be too harsh. I actually got like 3 or 4 PMs directly on Discord asking me to do that. So if it sounds like I'm being harsh, it's because I was literally asked to be harsh on this video. Now, a link to all of the channels, sans one, are in the description below. So if you're interested, definitely take a look and subscribe to these channels. I 100% think that every single channel mentioned, with the exception of Neckbeardia, is worthy of your subscription, or at the very least, worthy of you checking out their channels to see if you like them. Anyhow, that's it for today's video. If you like the content and you want to see more videos just like this one, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification icon in order to be notified of my future videos. And while you wait for those future videos, here are a few related videos from my channel that you can watch in the meantime.